Hi guys, John here. So it's been a little while since I made any videos on VFX stuff in Unreal, and this is something that's just come up, and I thought it'd be a good one to make a video about because I couldn't find anything on YouTube to cover it. So basically what it is, in this scene I've got a post-process material and it's in this tunnel, and at the end of the tunnel I've just got this black area which I want to be transparent when I put it into Davinci Resolve. So normally what you would do is you would, in your movie render queue settings, you would set this up. So I'm going to add in my preferred format, which is EXR, and in just disable that. JPEG. In deferred rendering, you would have accumulator includes alpha, you'd have that ticked, and also in your project settings you would have alpha output ticked, and when you render that it should include an alpha channel in your EXR footage. But as we can see, if I just render this shot out, let's call it alpha test 1, and this folder's good. Okay, so I'm just gonna render this out. So what would normally happen is that would just work, and I'll show you in Davinci Resolve what happens when it's a post-process material. So this is our video footage that we're going to put this clip on top of. So if I grab the video and just chuck it in, you can see that the alpha is not working, and basically when you're using a post-process material it overwrites everything on the screen with the post-process effect. So what you have to do is you actually have to create your own alpha inside your material. So I'm going to show you how you can do that. What we've got now is we've just got our material out going into the emissive color, and that's currently the only output that we've got is emissive color. But if we were to search for alpha, you see we've got this output alpha. So if we tick that, now if you were to render it out now, and let's just try and do it again. And if we look back at Davinci Resolve, now it's overwritten all the EXR files, so this shot should have changed. But as you can see, it's exactly the same as it was before. So you notice when we ticked that, we got this opacity pin showing up. So if we set that to 1 and now render it out again and see what happens now. So if we look at this in Davinci Resolve now, you can see now we're not getting anything at all. So what's actually happened is this opacity actually represents the alpha in the screen space, and I can demonstrate that by chucking a texture in. So if we just chuck this in and connect that, so it's like a grayscale texture. And again, I'm just gonna render this shot out. And back to Davinci. So we can see that that texture, which is like a gradient circles on the screen, has been mapped to the screen. So what we need to do, if we wanted that area to be translucent, we have to actually create that in the material based on the distance using the scene depth. So let me show you how you can do that. So in our post-process material, I'm actually using a material instance of this. So just to quickly show you, so if I find it, so just right click, create material instance, and it's created this, and this is the one that I'm actually using in my level. Okay, so the reason I'm using a material instance is so that I can adjust the values, and it should update in the viewport. Otherwise, if you change a scalar value on a post-process material inside the master material, you won't see it change on the screen. So how do we create our depth alpha element for our material? So to do that, you want to look for scene texture, just this one, and then just expand it, and then we're going to select scene depth from it. Now if we were to plug that directly into opacity, hit save, you notice it doesn't change anything in the viewport. Now this is because you can't see it until you render out. But if we connect that to emissive color, we can do it this way instead. So currently everything is white, so that means everything is going to be masked out. So what we need to do is we need to adjust what's coming out of here so that we can get that into the range and where it's usable. So if we pull off of that and take a divide node, I'm going to add in a scalar parameter, and I'm going to call this scene depth division. Just save that. I'm also, because I've got quite a lot of variables in this material, I'm going to change the group name for it, and just save that again. So now we've got that group name here, alpha, so you can see that. So if I just open that up now, and I try and maneuver this so we can see the screen as well, the viewport. So if I start to divide that, you can see that now we're getting the end of that tunnel. Okay, but our alpha needs to be a value range of 0 to 1. So what we also need to do is clamp that So if we pull off of that and search for clamp, and now we've got a 0 to 1. So what that means is anything below 0 is going to get cut off, and anything over 1 is going to get cut off. So our value range is just 0 to 1. Okay, so what you might find is you might need to tweak this a little bit depending on your scene. You might have other areas that are grey, so one thing that you can do, it's quite hard to show in this scene actually. I'm wondering if I can, if I add a little bit of greyness to it like that, maybe. So what we can do is before the clamp node, we can add a subtract, plug that into there, and I think I'll just copy that one and change the name of it. So subtraction, and we save that. Now you can see when we subtract it, we're able to sort of tune it a little bit, but this will subtract that amount from the entire signal as well here. So your white levels might go down as well. So what you can do is after the clamp node, just put a multiplier in. And then we can bring the level back up, but we've already got rid of the grey part, so we're not going to introduce that again by multiplying it. And then we can just crank that up to something high. Anything will do as long as it puts the signal above 1. And then you can adjust that subtraction as well. So it gives you a couple of different variables to play around with to get that depth. So let's save that. Actually, I missed a step. Let's bring this back over. So now we can see what's going on with that. We can plug that into the opacity, and we can plug our emissive back in from the material. And like I said, you don't see it on the screen, but you'll see it once we've rendered the shot out. So I'm just going to re-render it. Now if we have a look in Davinci Resolve, you can see that we've now got that translucency in the correct area. And yeah, it works quite well. So yeah, that's basically how you do it. And you could probably create an alpha for different depths as well, just by playing with these values. So yeah, just like that. So you might have like a bunch of objects in the foreground and you want everything else to be translucent, so you could just adjust it like that. And so if you didn't have those, the multiplier and the subtraction in there, you wouldn't have that fine control over it. So before I end the video, there's a couple of things that I might as well add to this. Let's say that you've got a scene that you're not using a fancy post-process material on, and you still want to create a custom alpha. For example, if you look at this at the moment, we're using the same material that we just created, and if I just disable it, you can see what the scene looks like. So just search for material. I'm on post-process volume, and then you can easily disable the post-process volume just by setting that array value to 0. And that's the scene that we've currently got, and you can see if I add that back on and come back down to this, we can adjust the scene depth here like that. So if we look at the material again, so instead of connecting my fancy code material to it, we can actually get the scene color in just by right clicking and searching for scene texture again, and then if we select post-process input 0 from it and just connect that, if I save that now, you can see that we've got the scene back as it is without the material on it, but it has got the material. We're adding this alpha to it. So you can render that out as is, but if you do, we found that you get this this weird layering effect. So let's have a look at it. So you can see the leaves are in the foreground, which is what we wanted, but we've also got everything else sort of in there, sort of as an underneath layer. So I'm not entirely sure why it does that, but we can stop it from doing that. So if we go to this again, and I'm just going to copy that clamp, put that, so we're going to set it back to a 0 to 1 range again, and this time we're going to multiply the scene color by the alpha, and actually you need to invert it as well. So what we need is a 1 minus, and then we can basically use that to mask out the other parts of the scene. So you can see it now. So if I was to render that shot out now, and let's have a look at it. There. So yeah, could be quite useful if you want to customize the transparent area a little bit more, rather than just relying on the alpha that's already in the scene. For example, usually it would be where you've got no geometry, that would be where it gives you an alpha, but we can actually mask out areas of the scene using this method. So Oh yeah, there's just one last thing that I want to quickly mention. If you render this out and you find that you've got a lot of like movement, things um, sort of vibrating about, it's because of the blend mode. So with the graph selected, if you type in blend and set that to scene color before depth of field, and it should hopefully get rid of that shakiness, which is I think it's called by the anti-aliasing. So yeah, hopefully that helps, and hopefully I'll catch you in another video. Thanks for watching. Bye.